Hello, YouTube. It's about time I introduced myself, huh? Alright, this is probably gonna be the rambliest video ever. I apologize in advance. I do have some bullet point list of stuff I'd like to talk about tonight, but it's mostly off the cuff. So, prepare yourself for that. But now that I have, 6, 7 videos on my channel, I thought I would actually say hello. I'm Sarithre. I turned 39 in May. I'm a huge nerd, as in I play video games, board games, tabletop games. I watch Star Trek and read fantasy novels and read comic books. I work in IT. I have a job in a knock. I work night shift, and I am very light sensitive, which is why I'm sitting here filming this in the dark, basically. I'm originally from Costa Rica, so technically my first language is Spanish, but it's been so long since we moved to the States that English has definitely become my dominant language. I grew up in Florida, and then spent like a good 6 years of my life in Arizona, and I've spent the last 9 or so years in... no. And I've spent the last 7 or so years in Colorado. At least 7. 8? I don't know. It's hard to keep track of time. My name is Sarithre. Originated back in high school. Don't remember exactly where from, but it's stuck ever since. It's actually in Elvish, or at least a crude approximation of Elvish, and by that I mean like Tolkien's Elvish language, except that it's a weird mix of Kenya and Sindarin, so yeah, it's not accurate Elvish, but it is Elvish. I have had so many nicknames over the years, but this is the one that stuck around throughout. I did want to talk a bit about basically my journey through cross-stitch, how I got to where I am currently with cross-stitch. I started when I was very little. My mother is very much a multi-crafter. She did seamstressing work out of our kitchen. She sold crochet yarmulkes to the local Jewish community. She did embroidery and all sorts of stuff. I can't even remember. I have one of her pieces upstairs. I'll share a picture here if I can find it. But she got me a Dimensions kit. Those were all the rage back in the 90s, the early 90s. They still kind of are, but that was pretty much all to be found there. I don't have it anymore. I don't think she has it anymore. I have no idea where it ended up, but it was like a Arizona theme. It was like a southwestern themed thing. We were living in Arizona at the time. It was interesting, but it didn't really catch my attention. And I would occasionally stitch from a kit if I was bored. Mostly I did a lot of beading work, like seed bead bracelets, or I did those, what were those called? You know, the plastic lace things that you would learn from summer camp and then spend years doing for no reason. Was that just me? The Rexless-based things. You know what I'm talking about. Probably, maybe, who knows. And then at one point she told me I could just make my own patterns, because clearly I wasn't that interested. And we ended up making a Sailor Jupiter pattern on graph paper. What I sort of did was essentially, I had this Sailor Moon coloring book, and I traced one of the images onto graph paper, and then like charted out where the colors would go, and made little backstitch outlines. It was terrible. I don't have it. I wish I did. It would be great to show you, but that's kind of what rejuvenated and actually got cross stitch to stick for me, and I've been doing it ever since. It's been at least 30 years now. No. 30 years since I started cross stitching, but a good 20 or so that I've really stuck with it. I did a lot of anime-themed stuff at the time. We did a lot of anime conventions at the time with my friends. And, like, video game-themed stuff, because pixel art is just modern cross-stitch. That's just what it is. In fact, one of the oldest projects I still own is this Magic Knight Rayearth pillow that I made forever ago. It's based off of pixel art from the Magic Knight Rayearth Super Nintendo game, and I didn't have a pattern program or anything. I literally just took pixel art, zoomed in super close, and stitched from that. It actually includes blends, which is surprising for me. I don't do a lot of blends nowadays. But I guess I couldn't find enough greens otherwise. So the dark parts of her hair are like a green mixed with like probably 939 if I had to guess, or maybe mixed with 310. I don't know. But I never did finish the other two. I do have this pattern, both the original version and a recharted version that I did a few years ago, up for free on my Ko-fi, if you want that. As well as the matching Umi and Hikaru ones if you want to stitch your own. Maybe one day I'll go back and finish this pillow series that I started. I've had it so long, it is so thin. I really need to restuff it, but it's just one of those things that you hang on to because you did it forever ago and you're so proud of where you came from. I did take quite a long break after that. Well, not after that specifically, but after that phase of my life, simply because college is hard, y'all. But once I left college, notice I didn't say finished college. Once I left college, I kind of got back into it. Those were my sprayed stitch days. I don't know if anyone remembers me from there, but I remember y'all. And we did a lot of nerdy shit on there. It was great. I miss it. I also did a lot of Heaven and... Well, I would say a lot. But I did spend quite a bit of time on the Heaven and Earth Designs forums as well. Do you remember forums? Because I do. I have... 3 Heaven and Earth UFOs that are sitting in my filing cabinet forever. I'm not going to do a whole whip parade or show off all of my UFOs this episode. If that's something you all are interested in, I can definitely do that and have a whole thing just showing some of my unfinished projects. But because nowadays most of my times I spend testing my own designs, I can't really do a whip parade. Those are my whips. Is patterns that won't be out for months yet, so we can definitely do a UFO parade, though. Got those. Don't we all, right? Mm-hmm. But then I took a long break. Heaven and Earth kind of burned me out. Full coverage is fun, and I did finish at least one. I'll show that one off here. I'm not going to go dig it out because it's in a file folder somewhere. But it burnt me out, not gonna lie. I then started streaming on Twitch, playing video games mostly. Started off playing a lot of PS2 games. Started in, I think, 2015, the main goal being to work through my video game backlog that I had built up over the years of working at GameStop and buying more games than I can actually play. But that's neither here nor there. At some point during that journey, a few years in, I was playing Okami, which is a wonderful PS2 game. If you haven't played it, go play Okami. I think it's on the Wii now. I'm pretty sure it was on the... It's probably been ported to the Switch by now. Find it, play it, it's great. That being said, I decided for some reason that I wanted to make a cross-stitch pattern of Princess Sakuya. And at this time on Twitch, there was no crafting categories, there was no makers in crafting, there was only games, and you could not stream not games unless you marked yourself as not playing, which had the unfortunate side effect of making you completely unfindable by the Twitch directory algorithm thing. So people that were already following me could watch. People who stumbled across my going live tweets on Twitter could watch. And I ended up stitching this here. This pattern is up on my Patreon for, I think, pattern collector tiers. I don't recommend it. It's a lot of dithering. I pixeled this myself, and that peachy color is actually like 2 different peachy colors alternated in like a checkerboard pattern where some sections have slightly more of the lighter peach and some sections have slightly more of the darker peach. And while it makes a cool effect, and I like it in person, it was a pain in the ass to stitch. So it exists if you would like to stitch it, but maybe just go for a flat color because you really can't tell from a distance. I might still have some screenshots from those days. I'll probably show them here, my old Twitch stream. It was very poorly filmed because I just had a webcam and a... Well, you'll see. From that, people got really interested in actually being able to watch the cross-stitch project because it's just new and exciting for Twitch, because remember, we only played games there, right? So I started stitching people's Twitch emotes. If you're not familiar with Twitch, your channel can have little emoji that are yours specifically, and you create your entire branding around those sometimes. So I would stitch these little emotes into keychains, and I would take them to conventions and give them out to the streamers that they belong to as like gifts, as thank you for entertaining me for years, thank you for keeping me company while I worked, for just being on in the background while I did stuff, whatever. And it was really cool not only being able to meet all these people, but to be able to give something back to them. And around the time I was doing this, that's when creative started. And because I was already technically streaming crafts, when the creative channel, which was originally just one huge channel, started, it was enough to get me to partnership, which for years was an unachievable goal. But it made a lot of connections with people in the community who were streaming right alongside me. I got to meet a lot of people at these conventions. I got to get to know developers, and I got to do some beta testing, which was a lot of fun. I beta tested for Wanderlust Adventures and Interstellaria, and of course Stardew Valley. It was such a wonderful experience. I'm not going to share too many details because, of course, it NDAs and personal and stuff like that, but I really enjoyed being part of the process and being able to help Concerned Ape fine-tune some of the things in the game. It was like literally like 3 of us during beta testing, just putting it in, reporting all these bugs and balance issues. You can blame me for everyone in the valley hating salmon berries, or at least not being super in love with them. Because back in the day, like, you could just carry a stack of salmon berries with you, and everyone loved them. And first spring, you could gather a shit ton, and you would just be good for the rest of the year. So that got nerfed. Sorry about that. But because I couldn't stream this beta testing, my channel kind of fell off the face of the earth for a while there. Because I was so obsessively playing Stardew Valley, but I couldn't stream it. So I would stream cross-stitching Stardew Valley, but then I would want to play more, so I'd have to get off stream to go play more. It was a vicious cycle, but I enjoyed every minute of it. And a few years later, I reached out to him and we talked about making the Stardew Valley cross-stitch guide. And he set me up with Fangamer, and we worked on this for over a full year. It was so much work, people, y'all don't understand. There's a lot that I wish we could have included, but I was given page limits, which is also why there's not as many like tutorial sections. There is, of course, like how to make a biscornu and like the basic beginning how-to stitches with adorable illustrations by Carrie Fry. How cute is that? It was a lot of fun to work with, and pretty much as soon as we had finished work on this, Fangamer asked if we would do an Undertale one, so of course I had to do that, which they gave me more pages for this one, which is why it's a lot thicker and has a lot more informational stuff like how to stitch onto clothing or like an idea board of different ways you can finish your projects, that sort of thing. I like the beginning of this book a lot more because I was able to include a lot more informational stuff that I wish I could have included with the Stardew book. Maybe one day we'll do another. I don't know. That's entirely up to Fangamer. We have a whole glossary in here. It was a lot of fun to work with. But because of how much freaking time writing books, even if they are just entirely patterns and a lot of pattern testing. In fact, the Undertale, I got to actually get help with the testing, because the Stardew Valley one, I stitched and photographed literally everything myself. Whereas with the Undertale one, we had some test stitchers, which I was eventually able to pay. I wasn't originally planning to, not planning to, I wasn't originally going to be able to, but we did actually pay them in the end, which is something I'm really proud of, because I hate seeing how much pattern testers get taken advantage of, and I don't want to do that. So, moving on. Twitch kind of fell by the wayside, because that was all I was working on, was the books. And it fell out of habit. And then I got a new job. This current job, actually. Which, again, was third shift. Which is great for me, because I'm very light sensitive, and not having to go out during the day was great. And I was mostly working alone, which is great, because extreme social anxiety. But it took a lot of my time, and I couldn't really stream as often anymore, and I really miss it. I still miss it. But it couldn't fit into my schedule, so I refocused, and I built my current website, it's Rayearth.com, where I put up tutorials, the stuff that I couldn't fit into the books. I am not too much of a video person. I have aphantasia. I can't visualize. Visual formats don't make sense to my brain, so I don't learn as well through YouTube as a lot of people do, which is why I haven't made as much YouTube content in the past. But on my website, I have over 90 articles now, ranging from basic cross-stitch beginner's guides and how to start your threads like 7 different ways to start your threads, ranging to one thing I really started enjoying was finding different finding different ways to finish your projects. So I did a lot of tutorials I have on there. For example, I've been making a lot of these stretch canvases where they're stapled on. I've made so many biscornu. Like, this is probably my favorite finish. I have an entire basket of like 40 of them currently. Yeah, those will never go away. We did needlebook, how to make a cross-stitch needlebook. I've done little omamori, little luck charms. I do a lot of these flat ornaments. I played around with a lot of plastic canvas stuff, including like these 3D. I think has a wire in it, so you can actually pose it. I mean, this is not how a butterfly would fly, but you could see that you can just shape it around how you want it, and it'll stay that way, which was a lot of fun. I, of course, made a ton of like earrings and necklaces and all sorts of little trinkets. I would put things in boxes. Eventually I learned to sew and I started doing more like sewing related tutorials, like these little trinket trays that are cross-stitched on, or like making drawstring bags. Nope, my alarm's going off. Computer, stop. Are you done? Okay. Sorry about that. We did play around with 3D shapes. And you can find tutorials for how to make all this stuff on my website now. But man, those take a lot of time. I then started playing around with trying different types of threads. So not just DMC, but I got some anchor threads and compared those. We got a whole bunch of Cosmo. We played with some of the over-dyed threads like Weeks Dye Works or Classic Color Works. I've put so much time into that website. It's become kind of a meme on our Discord that anytime somebody asks a cross-stitch question, there's a Siri article for that. But I hope that it's a big resource for cross-stitchers going forward. But I do know that not everyone prefers text-based tutorials. So in early 2020, I started... Well, late 2019, early 2020, I started filming some video tutorials because I had had a lot of requests for them, because some people are visual learners, and that's cool too. And I do want to provide some of that, even if it doesn't help me as much. It can be helpful to others. And of course, 2020 happened, which is why there was only 4 videos on my channel for a good 3 years. Yeah. During that time, I did refocus on our Discord server. It is linked down in the description if you would like to join us. The Pixel Stitch Discord has, I think, oh, let me check. 1,700 members right now. They're not all active. It's not anywhere near as fast as some public servers that I've seen, but it is fairly large, and there are a lot of people, and it's really cool to see what everyone is stitching, how they stitch differently, how encouraging they all are to try new things, how willing they are to share their information and answer questions, and just, it's generally a good bunch of people. I definitely recommend it. In mid-2020, we started up early 2020, I think in January, we started up the cross-stitch RPG, the Pixel Stitch RPG, which was a series of quests Every month we would release 2 quests of things to do. There would be one that was Stitchy related and one that didn't involve stitching, but that would encourage you to think outside the box with your cross stitch. The quests could be to stitch a freebie from a certain designer to, learn how that designer thinks about their patterns, how those designs are made. It could be to design your own pattern. It could be to just pick out a color palette. It could be to finish a project in a way you've never finished before. Because of the timing of that and the amount of people we had on the server, that really took off. There were like 60, 80 people each month submitting their quests, turning in their quests, and like chatting on the guild channels, and it was a lot of fun. It slowly died off over the years, and then I reopened it as a forum experience because I love me some Sprite Stitch and old school forums, and that exists now, although currently it's kind of struggling for activity. We've been trying to encourage it, but you can go to crossstitchrpg.com if you're curious. I'll link that down below as well if you don't want to type all that out. But if you just want like specific goals to expand your cross stitch reverie, try it out. Or you don't even have to post on there. You can just go through the quests and do them on your own. That's up to you. But hopefully that encourages people to try different things with their crafts. A few years ago, I was reorganizing my thread bobbins and decided that the 6 different, some of them were torn up or I had duplicates. It just wasn't working for me anymore. So I redid everything on plastic bobbins, and I got so infuriated by the official DMC label stickers that I made my own. So then I started selling those on Etsy, and that quickly took entirely too much of my time. It takes a lot of time to research, find a complete and accurate list of colors for some of these brands, and not to mention lay them all out onto a file, make sure that I didn't typo anything, make sure that they're all centered and in order, and make versions for bobbins that have the DMC or whatever brand that have the DMC and the number on them, and then make another version that's just numbers for people who only have one brand and it doesn't matter as much, and then to make versions for floss drops in a different format, and then to make copies of all of those files in 6 different colors, and then get them all into the Cricut Design Studio and test them out to make sure that they're cutting right. And it's a lot of work, and it's taken up so much of my time since I started doing it, but I love it. I just opened my Etsy store, which is why it's so bright in my face, but I just wanted to check real quick. I have 10 different brands of thread currently that I offer those for, and I am currently researching 2 more. And I also offer Mill Hill bead labels. I'm going to turn that off now because that is bright. So all of that combined completely threw me off of Twitch. And although I do occasionally hop on there to stream, it's not my main thing anymore. So, why YouTube? Like I mentioned, I have gotten a lot of requests for video tutorials to go along with my text-based tutorials. And now also because I work night shift and pretty much work alone, a lot of times I'm just listening to YouTube in the background while I work. And I much prefer watching somebody cross-stitch live on Twitch so that I could chat with them and get feedback and, discuss what they're doing and their plans and everything. It's distracting while I'm at work, so I use YouTube instead, which is fair. But seeing all these YouTube's videos from other creators and cross-stitchers and everything really reminded me of why I had started this channel to begin with 5 years ago. And I wanted to give it a try again. So I recently edited 2 videos that I had actually filmed back in 2020 and just now put up a month ago. And then I filmed a new video, which was a lot of fun. I made this Q-snap grime guard out of English paper piecing. And that's kind of my plan going forward. I'm not going to be a Flosstuber full-time or anything. There may be months in between videos. It might go every other week. I don't know. It depends on how much encouragement I get and how much motivation I'm able to dredge up. But I do have a lot of plans. I have a whole list of videos from back in 2020 when I first brainstormed them. Then I have like a good several years worth of content. Content ideas, I should say. And I also still have, those 90 plus articles on my website that I can make videos to accompany. And I have a lot of challenges that I like to do. I actually started this on Twitch, is we would do cross-stitch speedrunning, and I made these DDR arrows, and I was stitching so many of them because I was going to sell them at TwitchCon, which I did. Because I did a table at TwitchCon 2019, I want to say. And I had gotten into Denver Comic-Con, and I was going to have a table at Denver Comic-Con for June 2020. That didn't happen, obviously. But I did make all of these little plastic canvas trinkets, and since I was stitching 20 of these at a time, I started doing speed runs. And I still don't think anyone has beaten my record of doing one of these little DDR arrows in under 20 minutes, but that's an option. The pattern is free and on my Patreon and on my Ko-fi, so have at it. Time yourself. You don't have to film it necessarily, but time yourself. See what you can do. Who knows? Maybe you can beat me. But I do have a lot of plans to do fun challenges like the patchwork grime guard or doing some speed runs or what have you. I still have a lot to learn about video editing and filming in general, and audio especially, so if you've watched my last few videos, I am sorry. I am learning. We're figuring this out as we go, because if I wait until I'm good at it, it's just never gonna happen, so figured I'd throw that out there. I probably won't leave this entirely cross-stitch, but it's definitely going to be mostly cross-stitch. That's pretty much my life. That's what I do all day. But I do other crafts as well. I do crochet. I have some projects around here. This is the virus shawl. I'm currently working on a hexagon blanket. That's just black, and I think this is just Super Saver Retro. I have a few more hexes waiting to go. I obviously do sewing. I showed you a few of the finishes that I've done for cross stitch, but I've also sewn some of my own clothes, do little project bags, what have you. I still do some beading, like I've been making scissor fobs. I have a whole slew of these. This isn't... scissor case here, but that keep my needle threader on hand, which is nice. I also like to draw. I mostly do pixel art because, of course, that's what gets turned into my cross-stitch patterns. But I try to put out 2 to 3 patterns a month on my Patreon, and then later on my Etsy. But in between those, rather than spending a bunch of time pixel arting that I can't possibly stitch all of, I do draw. One of my favorite things is during July, there's a site called Art Fight, where you just draw other people's characters for fun. And every year we go all out. Last year I filled up this entire little book of just watercolor portraits of other people's characters. And I had a lot of fun with it. I learned a lot. I got progressively better at profiles, I think. I'm still not great at them, but I sure challenged myself, I'll tell you what. That's one of my favorites. She has like a ghost Doberman. And this one too is really cool. But I wouldn't say I'm great at it yet. Eventually I hope to incorporate more characters into my stitch work, but for now I do a lot of like video game botany, like the mushrooms of Hyrule or the Skyrim flowers I've done. I do a lot of small little trinkets and things. Things that I can get stitched within the month, because I test all of my patterns myself. And then I need time to not only design the pattern, pick out all the colors, stitch it, take photos, put together the PDFs, get it posted on Etsy and Patreon, and edit the photos and put them on Instagram. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun as well. My main goal with sharing my work online, whether that be here on YouTube or through Twitch streams or my website or over on Discord, has always been to inspire people to cross-stitch, whether that means releasing fan art patterns so that people into those fandoms decide to pick up this new craft just to make that thing that is from their fandom, like just like with me and the Sailor Jupiter graph paper pattern that we put together. Or whether that be just showing you new ways to finish your projects through tutorials, or talking about different brands of thread to try, or incorporating beads onto your projects, whatever the case may be. I just want to get people inspired. And that's kind of what I hope to continue to do going forward. Yeah, that's kind of where we are now. I mostly spend my time cross-stitching patterns that I then post on my Patreon. I release 2 patterns a month for my pattern tiers. It's always one original design and one fan art design, because I do entirely too much fan art and have been trying to force myself to cut back. But for example, this month for March, I released this Cosmic Dragon as my original design of the month. The camera filter is making it aqua, so I'm just going to pop a photo of it on top of this for now while I'm talking. But it's one of the first ones I did that incorporates beadwork, which is something I'd like to do more of in the future. But you can, of course, stitch it with metallic threads or stitch it with plain cotton threads, too. I've included all the suggestions with my pattern. And then for the fan art pattern this month, it'll probably be up by the time this goes public. But for my patron subscribers who are seeing this early, you're getting next week a Sims-themed pattern. So look forward to that. Thank you to all my patrons for your support and for helping me keep going with this. On months that have 5 Saturdays, because I post every Saturday on my Patreon, there will be a free pattern. So March was actually a freebie month. It's when I posted this Tetris Biscornu, this Tetris mandala, and that's a free pattern up on my coffee. You're welcome to it. And then I spend most of my time on Discord answering people's questions and just hanging out. So if you would like to hang out with us, again, that link is down in the description to our free Discord server, our just public server. I also have a private one for my patrons, but it's admittedly not very active. I try to encourage you all to talk to me on Patreon, but you're allowed to lurk. That's cool too. I do have all my freebies on Ko-fi, so I'll link that down below. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram. I post all of my stitches there, whether it's my own or the like random one-offs, little Mill Hill kits that I do occasionally, or when I'm pattern testing some stuff for Crafty Gurumi. We'll do little mini plastic canvas critters and things. I don't get a lot of time to stitch other people's stuff. It's mostly just testing my own, which is again why I'm not doing a full whip parade or anything. But let me know if you'd like to see what I've UFO'd over the years, or just abandoned, unfinished, and we'll see what to do with her. I'm gonna go ahead and stop rambling for now, because this is probably already going on an hour. And I'm getting kind of hungry and should go eat, because I have to edit this. Oh no. Anyway, hopefully it won't be 3 years before the next video, but whenever it does come, it will come. It will. I don't know what it's going to be yet. Maybe it'll be another tutorial. Maybe it'll just be a fun challenge. What is it that you guys want to see? YouTube things. Right about this point, it's going to show you some of my recent videos. Feel free to click on those if you'd like to see what else I've done. But whatever you decide to do, keep creating.